All right, today we have a special guest, AJ Moore. I'm so happy to have her here today for Financial Freedom Fighters. I'm glad that you were able to make it. I know you're very, very busy. So first question I have for you, just to start off, I just want you to kind of come in and let us know what you're all about. And the question I always ask is, what started your financial freedom fighting journey? What made you on that road?
Oh, okay. Well, so introduce myself first, right? So my name is
Absolutely.
AJ Moore. I am the owner of AJ Moore Consulting Corporation. I also own AJ Moore Exclusives in the King of Prussia Mall. I'm
Yeah.
also the owner of and founder of Financial Education and Financial Literacy course based on behavioral health and positive psychology.
Yeah. Wonderful. And
Yeah,
like
so
I said, and I'm sorry that I didn't break down everything. I knew you would do that because she's in, like I said, she's into so much. This is somebody that I've really been following and seeing her growth and then bringing things on top of things like the taxes that she do. This she had a store at King of Prussia Mall, so it's wonderful.
yes, thank you. It's been a
Absolutely.
lifelong journey for me. So yeah, I definitely am a financial freedom fighter, which is probably
Yes.
why I started the nonprofit. What brought me into this journey was, I think I was maybe about 19. I was working as an assistant for the CEO of a large corporation, and it was a boring job.
Yeah.
It was a job where they told me I just had to sit up front and smile and greet people.
Right.
And, I just felt like I wasn't being utilized. I felt like I was, underachieving. Uh,
Mhm.
so that really started my journey to go back to college, so to speak. So that started my educational journey to go back to school and do something more because I felt like this not going to school, I was always going to be caught up in these jobs that wasn't going to value what I can really give them.
Right.
While going to school, I had a baby, a
Mhm.
daughter, and I just broke up with my boyfriend, and so we went our separate ways. And I went to apply for food stamps to help me feed my daughter while I was in college.
Right.
And this is the day that really sparked everything for me. I've always been a smart girl.
Right.
Okay, always been able to do things for people. I would charge my neighbors about $20 to do things like paperwork and stuff for them. So I had this under my belt already,
Okay.
consulting and stuff like that. But the welfare office called me and told me I was denied.
Wow.
And I'm like, why? And she said, well, because you're not going to a 4-year, you're going to a 4-year college. You're not going to our welfare to work program.
Okay.
And I
Wow.
was just like, what?
Wow.
Okay, so you want me to quit school and go to the welfare to work program so that I can get food stamps to feed my daughter? I just don't understand. So I literally pulled over and cried that
Wow.
day
Okay.
because I was in a tight spot, and I'm like, well, why won't they help me? Because I'm going to school, I'm doing everything right, I'm working, going to school, I have my daughter. So why wouldn't they help me? And it
Right.
dawned on me that they don't really want you to do any better.
Right. Okay.
I've seen the welfare to work program. That's, it's not a program that I respect much,
Right.
and I'm going to school, I'm going to a college, and they wouldn't help me because I wouldn't stop going to school and go to their program. So it dawned on me that day that, if I really want what I want, I can't depend on these outside forces or the system to help me because they don't set it up for you to succeed.
Right. Right.
So you really have to set yourself up to succeed. So I made the choice that day to continue on with school and make my way, feed my daughter, and use my own gifts and talents to get what I wanted. So
Right.
that's when I started my business. I started my consultant business. And it wasn't very much on a large scale, so to speak. I was
Right.
working for Amtrak at the time as an accountant while I was going to school. And in that same year, Amtrak denied my management company the contract to property manage the 30th Street station. So
Okay.
in that same year, I, lost that job. But then I was still an accountant, and I'm going to school. So I took that as a sign from the gods to really just go off on my own and start my own business. I knew enough about accounting to help people with their books and help them with their taxes. So I just started doing that. People always look to me anyway to get these, get paperwork done. And I was always a paper pusher, even in school. And when I was young, I liked to read books and math books. And so it was always my thing to do. So I said, why not? I'm going to use this to pay my mortgage and feed my daughter. And here we are, 17, 18 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
here we are. So I haven't worked for anyone else since.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. So my question for you is, being an accountant, right? Starting off as an accountant, it seems as though in accounting and that personality that you want to have everything in order, right? And I know in entrepreneurship, that's actually the opposite. It's not as stable in the beginning. So how did you deal with that and giving up, which a lot of entrepreneurs have to deal with, is giving up some security to get really ultimately what you want? How did you go about that? How did you go about saying, listen, I went to college, I did all these things, but I'm going to bet on me now. And it is not always consistent, but I'm going to bet on me.
No, it doesn't always go that way, but I didn't have a choice. I wanted what I wanted and I didn't have a choice. I had to bet on me, and I've always believed in me. One thing I know is that people gave me the confidence. If I didn't already have it within myself, people gave me the confidence that I really needed, because they always came to me and asked me to do things for them because they knew I could do it. They always said, AJ, you're so smart. AJ, you're so this, you're so that. I knew you could do it. So the people I had around me gave me the confidence that I needed to keep going and believe that I could do these things. But it comes with education and research. I did a lot of research when I started my business. And don't let this be lost that I started a business that starts businesses. So the business that I started is a type of business that starts businesses. So I knew how to bookkeep. I knew how to start the LLC. I knew how to get the EIN. I knew how to that was what I studied.
Right.
So getting my business together was no problem at all, because that's what I did for a living. Betting on myself, who else are you going to bet on? How are you going to believe in anyone else and not believe in yourself? I don't even understand that concept. So in my life, I've overcame a whole lot of obstacles. At that time, I had just bought my first house as well. I didn't always have an easy life. I came from the streets. I went through abuse. I went through a lot of trauma in my life. I was actually on the streets at the age of 14, had my own apartment at 14, 15 years old. So I encountered a lot of obstacles back then. So I was already at the point where I was confident that I could do anything. If I could live on my own at 15, 14 years old, pay my own bills, and then go on to buy my own home, my own car. And I was confident.
Right, absolutely. I see that. That's one thing that radiates out of you. But I wanted our audience to know, because I know every entrepreneur is different. I don't have a problem with confidence. I know you don't, but other people might have a problem overcoming it. It doesn't mean that we never had to deal with it, but we got over that point. We got over where we believed in ourselves. And also, one thing that you named that I want to point out to my audience is that you brought value. You understood that you brought value, and value is everything, because now it's like, I'm not selling anybody. Right? People are already seeing the value that I bring, and they're asking me to come on a board or help me with this project, or can you work on my behalf or partner with me? So that's a beautiful thing. So I'm really interested, and this is for me, but I want my audience to know, because I haven't caught up with you in a while. How'd you get into the King of Prussia Mall? What brought that about? Like, I know you were in so many things, and just to my audience, I worked and partnered with AJ before through the city of Philadelphia and some nonprofit efforts on 52nd Street. So I've been keeping up with her, but I see social media like everybody else. How that move happened?
Well, I didn't know I was such an artist.
Okay.
I took my niece out one day to go to Michael's to get some clay and paint for her birthday. And we had a whole art evening that evening. And I realized that I liked it. Okay. So, don't like, playing with Play-Doh and then go and get a store in King of Prussia Mall. But, It was something that I really enjoyed in my off time. I started making jewelry and sculpting, and I was a really good sculptor. And
Okay.
I really liked what I did. It made me happy. It kind of completed me. So I have this one side that is really, of course, book smart and technical, but I also have this like softer side that is really artsy and creative. And that fed that side of me.
Okay.
So when I started to research that more, I realized there were more artists like me, but they couldn't sell their stuff because one, you're selling it from home. And
Mhm.
like, unless you have this, unless you have enough time in your day to go out and vend from place to place to place. And that's definitely not me. I'm not going out to vend. That's just not my type of stuff, my type of thing. I kind of
Right.
go big when I think about idea, it's pretty big.
Right.
I'm not thinking table, I'm thinking store.
Got you.
So I said, well, what if I get a store and I can sell all the stuff that I make in this store? And not only that, I can also help other artists by bringing their stuff in the store as well. And that's exactly what I did. I'm always thinking of other people.
Mhm.
When I go through things in my life, I always think about, okay, I'm going through it. I know there's someone else that's going through it too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So going through that with the art thing, piling up on all this jewelry, like, what am I going to do with it now? I'm going to
Right.
open a store and I'm going to help other people who are, doing their stuff at home to help them get their stuff out there too. So that's exactly what I did. I contacted the King of Prussia Mall. I already had an event there for my daughter and her pageants. We were already setting that up because
Okay.
I was director of the Little Miss pageants in Pennsylvania. So we were
Okay.
already studying the pageant thing up in King of Prussia Mall. And so I kind of used the in that I already had to, inquire about an inline store. They, of course, tried to steer me towards getting a kiosk. And
All
I was like, no, I want a store. I want an
right. Got
actual
you.
store with
Yep.
my name on it.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah,
You got
months later,
it.
that's exactly what I have. A big inline store next to Bloomingdale's with my name on it. And all we sell is handmade, handcrafted jewelry, apparel, skincare, and accessories.
Beautiful. And if anybody is up in the King of Prussia Mall, please check AJ out. It's called AJ Moore's. I'm gonna give her time at the end to kind of give her all her tags and information and
Yeah,
stuff like
it's,
that.
it's
But
called
I
AJ
mean,
Moore Exclusives.
AJ Moore exclusive. So I'm
Yes,
actually going to be up there hopefully in the next month and a half to come and support you.
thank
So
you.
this is another question that I'm eager to ask you. So with being a financial freedom fighter, I always like to find out where it came from. So this question stems from that. How big was it that your parents or your parents pushed ownership on you? Like, was it reiterated? And then it's a two-part question. The second part is, how much are you going to be on your daughter and your children to be owners? Is that very
Mhm.
important? And how much did that play a part?
Well, my father always owned his businesses. From the time
Okay.
I knew anything about work, my father owned his own business. So he's a lifetime entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur. So that came naturally for me as well. Watching him run his own business, watching him get up every day, buy his supplies, and pay his barmaids. He owned a bar, a few bars in Philadelphia, and I also worked there with him and helped him out as well. So that came naturally to me because I watched him do it. I feel like it's easier to go into entrepreneurship when you see your parents do that
Mhm.
because you see them get up every day and do this. You don't see them go to work every day. You see them go hustle for themselves every day. So you think that's just the way things work.
Right.
That's what it is. So since I knew myself, I've been an entrepreneur. When I was like maybe about 11 or 12, I lived in Paulsboro, New Jersey, and I made all these flyers and passed it around to all the neighbors in town. And I was a babysitter. So I told them I was a babysitter. If they needed help or they needed to go out for the night, call me. I'll come babysit their children. And this was something I did. My parents didn't like really help me with that. I don't even think they knew because they were busy working all the time.
Right.
But I would take my little brother with me to make sure I was okay because he was
Okay.
like my little bodyguard back then. But I was babysitting and I had my own business at the age of 11, 12 years old. I've always been very independent because I see my parents see just that. My mother was a home care nurse. And it's kind of like running your own business because she had to hustle on her own to get her jobs back then. So it's definitely been all that I know and all that I know now. With that being said, my children do the same thing.
Okay.
I have a 21-year-old son. I also have a 6-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old daughter, and
Okay.
they know nothing but entrepreneurship. That's all they talk about. My 13-year-old daughter has her own business already.
Awesome.
My Milan Beauty, and she did all the footwork for her business. I was so impressed to see her go out, do her research on the internet. She have a book of notes on how to start her own business. She has me here, and she could have definitely, asked me all the questions that she needed, but she went off and did it all herself and even started her own website. All she needed was my credit card.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
she had my credit card at her disposal, and she did everything she needed, including contacting her vendors and getting the supplies that she needed to start her business. And I'm proud of her. But, like I said, if it's all she sees, that's all she knows. So my 6-year-old is the same way. She can only talk about owning her own business, what she can sell and what she can do. She's never talking about working for someone else. So, and
That's so
same with my 21-year-old. They have me in them. They only watch me work for myself. So
that's so powerful. I mean,
mhm,
I'm glad you mentioned, all your children, because
mhm.
the fact that they have your influence, and the fact that it's been passed down from generation to generation, that's what this is all about. It's really
Yes,
about a mindset. It's not always about just the wealth. We definitely want them to be off onto a good start, but whatever they have in here that you've passed down and that mindset is going to take them so far. So that's a
yeah.
beautiful thing.
Generational wealth is part of that knowledge. I always say that if you show your kids where you left off, they can start where you left off instead of at the beginning.
Yeah,
So, our
so
parents
true.
used to hide things from us when we were younger. They didn't want us to see the struggle. They didn't want us to see this, or they didn't want us to see that. They didn't want us to see they were broke, or if
Right,
the electric bill came and they were stressed. They try to hide those things from us.
right.
But I think it's best that your kids see all of that. They see how you handle these things when they arise.
Mhm.
Um, they see how you handle yourself when things go bad, when things go wrong, or they see how you handle yourself when you need money. They see how it is to work for a job or and then have your own business. You have to show your children that, because eventually they're going to go off on their own, and they're either going to start from step 1 or they're going to start from step 10.
Right.
So it's better if you teach them what you know, so that they're starting with a half full cup instead of an empty cup. Because I don't know about you, it took me to about my 30s to finally get some things about life together.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it took me to about 30, 32 to be like, oh God, that's what it is. I should have
It just
known,
come
you
together. It
know?
comes together.
Yeah, so instead of, them wasting 10 years or 12 years of their life trying to figure things out, it'd just been easier if you tell them or if you show them, because children learn better if you show them what to do, not tell them, show them how, to get things done, and they'll do the same in their life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in that. I always said, like, when I was a child, my mom would say, "Don't touch the oven, don't touch the oven." And I get that, but when I got a kid, I'm like, let him touch it one time real quick. You know what I mean? Like that, get
I'm
it
the
out the
same
way.
way.
Like,
Yep.
now he will never ever touch it again. So
Yeah.
showing them really is better than telling them, because in their head they're kind of analyzing like, well, why? And they're not gonna get to why until later. When we got
Yeah.
to why, like, oh, why? No, do it because I say so. So you're absolutely right. It's better to show them as you go along.
Yeah, and you gain your trust better with them, because action speaks louder than words. So if you're saying one thing, but your actions say something totally different, your children are not going to trust you. They're not going to follow your
Absolutely.
lead because something doesn't match up, and that's your words and your actions. One thing about that, they have to trust who you are, and they have to trust that what they're following is okay.
Yeah.
And if you're saying one thing to them, but then you're acting and doing something totally different, a confusion is going to happen there, and it's going to be a disconnect, and they're not going to want to follow your lead, because they're not going to know what to really follow, your word or your lead.
Right, right. Mixed signals. Absolutely. I completely agree. So my last question is, and um hopefully hey, you can hit this right on the nose, because you've been great at answering these questions.
Mhm.
As a financial freedom fighter in your journey, what are, when it's all said and done, right? What are the three things that you want to leave as a legacy?
The three things I want to leave as a legacy is my children.
Absolutely, absolutely.
My
They're big.
children they're my legacy. Um, my spirit. I have a spirit that never gives up. I've had
Okay.
several things in life try to break me down, try to knock me down, or just take me clear off of my tracks. But I have a spirit that never says no, never says stop, never says I can't.
Mhm.
And I want my legacy, I want that part of me to be within my children because that's what's gotten me through my life. The fact that I never ever say I'm done or it
Never
can't
give up.
happen. I'm always thinking, oh yeah, it's going to happen. It's
Right.
going to happen.
Right.
So that part, and my legacy, another part of my legacy, I want my children to have financial freedom to do whatever they want. Um, when it comes to these racial issues, and I'm sorry, money and confidence works together to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want them to have confidence that they can do whatever they want. And I also want them to have financial freedom. Of course, I plan to leave them a whole lot of it, but what they do with it is totally up to them. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, we have these racial issues in America now. Um, I never felt like any of these racial problems stopped me in life. No one ever said, oh, because you're Black, you can't go to school. No one ever said, because you're Black, you can't start a business. No one said, because you're Black, you can't be successful.
Right.
They look at me funny. They try to discourage me with their looks and their acts, but none
Yeah.
of that stopped me.
Right.
None of that stopped me from doing anything that I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Uh, I did it anyway.
Right.
Whether they liked it or not, I did it anyway because you can't really tell me I can't come to this school. You can't tell me I can't live in this neighborhood. You may not like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah.
Right.
So that part, having that financial freedom and the confidence to go with it can take you far in life, and I want my kids to have that as well.
Beautiful. Well, those are beautiful legacies to live. I mean, to leave here. I'm
Mhm.
so big on legacies because it's really about our last name. So a lot of us don't give thought. We're working so hard. We don't give thought of, all right, well, what's going to be here 10, 15, 20 years? Of course, our children, we know that, but
Yes.
like, where do we want our essence to be left at? Like, I'm big with the youth, so I have something there, but I had to narrow it down. Like, all right, well, I want a basketball thing where, I have money going towards that, and that keeps it going at least for 5 or 8 years. So I always think it's beautiful for financial freedom fighters to always have that in their mindset because we fighting this fight every day. It's up and down, but we winning. We winning,
Yes.
we being an aggressor. But you get hit in these fights. So as you
You
go
get
through it,
hit.
it's like those plans that like, all right, what am I going to do with all these little wins that I've been grabbing along this journey, and
Well,
how is it going to keep on going afterwards?
let me tell you my end goal. When I was 8 years old, I went to Liberia, West Africa with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my family is from.
Okay, beautiful.
Beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. I
Mm-hmm.
vowed to go back there one day. From since I was 8, I seen the beauty that was in Africa, and I wanted to always go back. I plan to go back. I'm right now working with a builder. I want to build a dorm and a school for girls in Liberia.
Awesome.
So
Let's go.
within 2 years, I will be building a school in Liberia for young women who can't afford to go to school. There's a lot of colleges and schools in Africa and Liberia, but a lot of kids cannot afford to go to school, or their parents are literally breaking their back to send their children to school and also pay for the dorm in which they live. I want to send girls to school for free and educate them for free without having to deal with the rape and the abuse that they usually have to endure
Right.
over there. It's far more worse than what goes on here when it comes to abuse of women being abused, girls being abused. And I want to go back there to at least help them get educated without having to worry about things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's major. That's major. And that's something that will live on.
Yeah.
Your kids can be proud of it, something that they can continue to go visit, everything like
Yes.
that. So that's a beautiful thing. So this is my final question, right? And
Yes.
what would you tell a financial freedom fighter that is maybe you at 15 or 16 that's about to go on this journey, about to go on this marathon, and you know all the ins and outs that it has, and you know the resilience that you had to have, the strength you had to have. what is the one piece of advice that you would give a financial freedom fighter, a young lady? It only have to be, it could be a young man as well, but somebody similar to you that's trying to make it.
I would say follow your heart.
Okay.
Always follow your heart. There's good people out there and there's bad people out there. Don't turn your back on everybody.
Right.
Know what's good for you. Know what's good for you and follow that. And what you're going through right now will pass. It's how you handle things in life that makes the big difference. So although we go through things in life that seems to be bad, how you handle it carries you for the rest of your life. So
Absolutely. That was beautiful. Very, very well said. I thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time and giving my audience so much value, so much advice. I'm going to give you a copy of this. I tell everybody that I'm going to shoot it to you so you can share it. But I appreciate your time, AJ, and I will talk to you soon. But also, all your tags, because I'm going to pop them up when I edit this thing. I'm going to put all the tags there. But if you can verbally say all your tags and where they can reach you at, where they can find you at.
Okay. My tax office is in Pennsauken, New Jersey, 5921 Westfield Avenue. That's AJ Moore Consulting Corporation. I also have Teletax, where you can get your taxes done virtually by Microsoft Teams or what is it called? The other one, we're on Zoom. We're on it right now. Zoom. So it's Teletax, AJ Moore Consulting Corporation. AJ Moore Exclusives is located in the mall in the court on the second level next to Bloomingdale's. And Financialcation is financialcation.org for all of your home ownership, educational, financial literacy courses. Yeah. Right. And I also have the AJ Moore Foundation, which is working on building a school in Africa.
Beautiful. Serial entrepreneur, very busy woman, very accomplished woman. Thank you very much for your time. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Gerald.
Absolutely. Peace and love. Take care.
Peace and love. Peace. Bye.